It's been a while. Yeah, I'm back on this whole what if stuff. Now I know what y'all gonna say. Oh, he's about to just post a video and then leave like Corey Kenshin for multiple months. No. Actually, what I'm going to do is I'm going to record this video and then I'm gonna record multiple videos after this one. So then I have no reason to just not come back for like a long time. Right? So I'll try to stay consistent, but I'm gonna be completely honest. It's not that I don't like doing what ifs anymore, which this is just a short explanation on some, right? It's not that I don't like doing what ifs. It's just like I have to get into the energy to do them. So if I'm not in the energy to do what ifs, I'm not going to do it. Now, join the Discord if you want to. Link is in the description. If you're my family members, don't join the Discord. I love you, but don't join the Discord. Uh, and yeah, everything like that. Um, yeah, I just wanted to make some announcements. I'm gonna try to be more consistent. I'm gonna try to get more into that mood. I do D&D and stuff like that, but I don't do normal D&D. We don't use dice and stuff. So yeah, if you want to get into that, join the Discord. If you're not gonna be doing that, you can still join the Discord. It's just like 9 times out of 10 we're not going to be in regular chat, or 8 times out of 10, because I'm not going to usually be in normal chat. You ping me, I will show up. I go by Ivy, so if you ping Ivy and then you see a person with a blue cross, that'll be me. I change my PFP time to time, either whenever I'm angry or whenever I just want to change it. So yeah, but without a further ado, let's get into it. Alright, so basically, the way that I'm going to have this, I'm going to have Bakugo be a little bit more like aggressive with the way that he comes around, and I'm not gonna make him like, oh, he's actually a villain. No, I'm not gonna do nothing crazy with that. But Bakugo's gonna be a lot more aggressive than he was inside of the actual anime. So he's gonna do a lot more aggressive things. Also, along with that, I'm going to make a controversial change, and I'm not going to give Deku All for One. And if I do, it'll probably be later in the series. Just saying that. I'm gonna try not to change too much, but if I end up doing it, I'm gonna do it. Stuff like that. I might change my opinion on the one for all thing and like later in the series, but for right now, I'm not planning on it. Alright, so basically, around when Deku is like 4 years old, and he finds out he's quirkless on some, he kind of like, he's down in the dumps, like a lot more than he was in canon. Like in canon, how he didn't really react to it until way later. He kind of instantly reacted to it, and like it kind of put him inside of a state where it's like it's even worse than he was like in canon. Which everybody ignore that. Everybody ignore the fact that it says my phone's dead. I know my phone's always dead, but like I was saying on something, right? Uh, yeah, it would affect him a lot more and make him like feel some type of way about it. And he gets back to school and everything like that, and everybody would be like, "Ayo, Izuku, what's your quirk?" And he kind of like avoid it. Like he doesn't really say he's quirkless, but like he kind of said, like he kind of just keeps avoiding the situation. Eventually, after like a couple of months, everybody ends up finding out that he's like not really changed at all. I mean, whenever Bakugo bullies him, he takes the amount of damage that a regular person would take, so they know it's not a durability based quirk. It's definitely not a strength based quirk. Everything that it could be, they basically realize on some after a while that he's kind of just quirkless. That's the only explanation to it. Either that or he's just a very 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 passive person at nature, because he doesn't really fight back against Bakugo very much. Um, so, one day inside of school, they're kind of making fun of him and everything. You know, they're all like, "Nah, you're not saying it because you're quirkless," and they're like basically getting on him, and like he's trying to ignore them, but it's like actually like making them tweak out a little bit. As eventually a kid just throws something at the back of his head on making fun of him, as that kind of just causes him to snap, and he gets up and he kind of ends up yelling at all of them. Like, and this is extremely out of character for Izuku. So like he ends up getting up and yelling at all of them, as it kind of causes everybody to kind of sit down on some, and kind of chill out a little bit. But obviously Bakugo takes this personally, and he gets up to go and beat Izuku's ass on some, as the teacher walks inside the room literally as soon as he gets on top of the desk to go and like lunge at him, kind of. As the teacher kind of gets in the room, he's like, calm down, everybody to your seats, including you, Bakugo. As Bakugo kind of scoffs, and then he kind of just goes to sit down. As when he does, he kind of looks like really, really annoyed on some. As the teacher gets back to teaching the class and everything, and Izuku kind of takes a like sigh of relief, because he obviously didn't want to get beaten up, and there was no way he could have defended himself. So eventually, when Izuku gets out of class, he ends up rushing out of class, because obviously he knows Bakugo is going to try and track him down. As when he begins to like make his way out of the room on some, he kind of feels something on his shoulder. As he turns around, and as soon as he turns around, he catches the meanest hook. As he kind of falls to the ground, and he's kind of holding his mouth, as he kind of sees it's that fat little kid with wings. As he kind of tries to get up to go and run away on some, as soon as he tries to get up, he gets punched in the face by another kid. As he kind of ends up slowly gaining his bearings, as he looks up and realizes he's kind of surrounded, as he tries to run forward, and then Bakugo appears in front of him. As when he does, he kind of gets kicked in the face, and he goes towards the wall. As Bakugo ends up saying, look at it like this. You're quirkless. You're not going to be useful to anybody. You can't be a hero. You're probably not going to be an effective nurse or doctor, because most of the people that go into that field usually have a job as a like basically a quirk that can heal people. No matter what you do, you're useless to society. And when he says that on some, like, it kind of hits Izuku, as he kind of ends up calling him all types of names. He calls him useless, a good for nothing. He says he'll never amount to anything. And whilst he's insulting him and everything, Izuku doesn't know why, but he just gets really, 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 really angry. Like irrationally angry. Angrier than he's ever been before. And even though his mom had raised him, his parents had raised him to be, a pacifist, Izuku gets up and, kind of lunges at Bakugo to go and punch him. And as soon as he does that, Bakugo hits him with the meanest hook to the chin, as he goes into a wall, as they begin to just beat him the hell up. I'm talking about like they hit him with that Yuji run these hands Itadori treatment. You feel me? Like they going crazy on him low key. They like passing him side to side like Nanami and Yuji versus Mahito, and they're just going crazy on him. And like, don't get me wrong, Izuku's trying to like protect his face and everything, but it's literally like they're beating down on him so mercilessly that he can barely even put his hands up. As at one point he kind of gets both of his arms grabbed, and as he gets them pinned down, as he just kind of gets stomped and kicked inside the face and body. After a while, they eventually leave him alone, and he's just kind of on the ground holding his nose with blood gushing from it, as he kind of he kind of just decides to get up and begin to walk home. As he begins to walk home, he kind of puts up his hoodie, because I'm gonna say he has on like a hoodie, like a black hoodie, like a black plain hoodie, like any type of black hoodie you can think of, right? And it's like those ones with strings, right? So he puts it over his face and he kind of walks home. As when he walks home, his mom kind of says, Izuku, your dinner's ready. As he kind of ends up saying he's not really that hungry and that he'll eat later, as he goes to, walk upstairs. As she's like, you're not gonna say like hello back or anything like that. As he kind of, says a small, hello, and he kind of runs upstairs quickly. As she kind of looks at him weirdly as he's going up, but she just kind of shrugs and just thinks that, you know, maybe he's just acting weird for no reason. Or, maybe something else is going on, or maybe he's still bummed out about him not having a quirk. It wasn't that long ago that he was diagnosed. Every single day of school seems like this, from when he is small to when he is a lot bigger. Now, sorry about that, y'all. I don't know what the heck happened, but like for some reason my mic went out, and then I had to check, and then for some reason I wasn't recording. But like I was going to say also, yeah, basically every day is like this also for Izuku. And eventually, he kind of ends up getting tired of it. And one day, he decides to, go on top of the highest building that he knows, as he kind of just looks over the edge. As when he does, like, he just thinks about, ending it all right then and there. As when he's thinking of that also, he goes to take the final step, as he hears someone from behind him say, "I wouldn't do that if I were you." As he turns around quickly, as when he turns around, he sees like an old man with like black hair or something. As Izuku kind of just looks at him as he's like, hello? As he says, it isn't worth it. Izuku kind of backtracks as he's like, no, I wasn't gonna do that. I was just, looking at the view. As he says, you don't have to bullshit me. As Izuku kind of just, gets quiet and looks down. As the man says, why are you so sad? Izuku kind of just slowly looks up at him, as he kind of, looks back down, as he kind of squeezes his hands. Which, by the way, by this point, he's in like not high school, middle school, right? As he kind of looks back up at him, as he's like, I don't have a quirk. I don't fit in anywhere in society. No matter who I go to or talk to, nobody cares about me. As, when he says that, he kind of begins to, squeeze his hands. As he's literally like, just like literally balling up his fists so hard, blood begins to trickle from them. As the man says, you have a family, right? As, Izuku kind of just slowly nods. As he kind of just says, yeah. As when he says that on some, the man says, so are you sure no one loves you? As Izuku says, I mean, my mom loves me, I guess. As the man says, okay, then that's not no one. As Izuku kind of just looks over to the side, as he kind of ends up murmuring to himself, it's not the same. As the man says, but it is. As Izuku kind of looks up at him in shock, because he's wondering how he heard that, because he said it so quietly. Nobody should have been able to hear it, even if they were right next to him. which the dude's not. The dude's like 15 feet away from him. As he looks up at Izuku as he says, I have a question for you. As Izuku kind of just looks at him as he says, what's that question? As when he asks that, the dude kind of just says on some, if you had the ability to save others, would you? As Izuku kind of looks up, kind of confused, as he's like, yeah, of course I would. As he says, if those people were to hurt those close to you, what would you do? As Izuku kind of, looks at him, as he says, why does this even matter? Inside of kind of in a disappointed voice. Because, here's the thing. Izuku's still his same old self, kind of, inside of that fact. He's only slightly different. Inside the fact that he lets things get him down a lot more. So, he's still nice, respectful, and everything like that. All that shit. But, it's just, in moments like this, he can't help but, feel some type of way. But, yeah, he kind of, looks at the old man as he says, why does that matter? As the old man says, answer the question. As Izuku kind of just says to him quietly, not quiet enough to be whispering, but, quiet though, I'd make sure they wouldn't hurt them in the first place. As the man says, say it again. As, Izuku kind of speaks up a little bit as he's like, I'd make sure they wouldn't hurt them in the first place. As he says, so you're saying that you'd always be there to protect them. As he nods. As the dude kind of, looks at him as he says, who is your favorite hero? As Izuku kind of says, it's All Might. No offense, sir, but what does this have to do with the conversation that we're having? As the dude kind of smiles as he holds out his hand. As Izuku's looking confused because dude's hand was in his pockets and he's asking all these weird questions. He don't know what he's trying to do or what the hell is going on. He's just basically confused. As the man kind of keeps his hand out as he's like, I've got an offer for you. As Izuku kind of just looks at him kind of confused as he's like, what do you mean? As the man kind of says, my offer is for... Actually, it's not really like an offer. It's more of a promise. As Izuku kind of turns his head as he's like, does he even know what he's talking about? He's not necessarily insulting him, but he's just confused. He's like, what the hell is going on with this nigga? So, he kind of says, what is that? As the old man says, I need you to promise that. As Izuku kind of just looks at him as he's like, I can't promise anybody anything without me having a quirk. As, he kind of balls up his fists again as the blood slowly... Oh, good. I forgot this wasn't my other screen recording app. But yeah, he balls his fists up as he kind of says, I'm useless. There's nothing I can do. There's no point in me making that promise. Because that'll be a promise that I can't keep. As the man kind of just looks at Izuku. As he's like, then make it so that you can keep it. As Izuku's kind of confused. He's like, huh? What is this dude on about? Because, the way that he's thinking about it is, you just promised that I could, you're trying to get me to promise that I can promise to protect anybody, and I don't have the power to do it. As, he kind of says, I sense your confusion. As he says, trust. With enough willpower, enough time, and enough training, you can and will become strong enough. As Izuku kind of just, looks at him as he's still kind of confused, but he kind of understands what he's saying a little bit. And the way that he's saying it is, if you try hard enough and if you get to the point where you can help out everyone around you, then potentially you could become something greater than what you could ever have imagined. Kind of like on some plus ultra type shit. Like if you push past your limits and don't just let like the bounds of what you were held on, like when you were born, or even like how people told you should be, you could become something way greater. As you know, he kind of smiles as he says, "You're a weird dude, but I'll trust you." As he shakes his hand, as the old dude kind of just smiles at him. As when he smiles, he kind of hears beep, beep, beep. As he kind of jolts out of his sleep, as he looks, as he's like, huh? That was a dream? Kind of confused. So, he kind of gets up, goes ahead and takes himself a shower on some. And after he does that on some, he kind of gets out of the shower as he looks down as he's like, when the hell did I get an 8-pack? As he kind of, slowly rubs his hands over over his chest. Not in a sexual way, but like in a, type of way, like a confused manner. As he kind of, looks as he's like, that's weird. So he decides to go downstairs after he gets dressed and everything. So his mom looks at him as she's like, is something wrong? And then he was like, I mean, I woke up and I all of a sudden had abs. And then she was like, I mean, were you working out? As he looks at her as he's like, I mean, I wouldn't call myself not fit, but like I haven't been working out enough to get an 8-pack. As she kind of just, looks at him as she's like, who knows, maybe you could have done something, or maybe it's the way that you're eating. I have been feeding you pretty good. As he kind of looks at her as he's like, okay, mom. And he continues eating his food and everything. So he, gets up to get on his way to school and something. As he goes to school, wait, how long have I been recording? Man, fuck it. I'll continue. I'll continue. I'm gonna make this part long. So he gets up and he basically goes ahead and gets to school. And as he does, he kind of goes throughout his normal day. As he sees Bakugo isn't in school. As he kind of just smiles, as when he does, he kind of just continues going out the rest of his day. He's guessing Bakugo didn't come to school or something. But right when he's guessing that, he's going to his next class. As he sees that nigga Bakugo, as he's like, oh my fuck. Like in his head, he says, oh my fucking god. As Bakugo kind of, walks down the hall. As he, he kind of screams, Deku, my favorite nerd. Shit like that. Like just insulting the nigga. Going crazy on him. He basically making fun of him and shit, saying he has a face that only a mother could love, and, shit like that. Like, basically just trying to fuck with him. Basically just trying to get under his skin so that he can feel bad. But Izuku doesn't know why, but, like, even though what Bakugo is saying would normally piss him off, it still pisses him off, but it pisses him off a lot less. Like, he feels almost, like, mellowed out, kind of. As when Bakugo kind of sees that he's not getting as bothered by it on some shit, he kind of frowns, and he kind of, goes to, slap bro in the face, as bro, like, instantly reacts, and then accidentally punches Bakugo in the face. As he's surprised, one, because the, hit landed, which is because Bakugo's agility and everything, even, outside of What If, gang, his agility was fucking crazy in canon. But, yeah, his agility and shit, it was generally that fucking good on some shit, so it caught him off guard onto the fact that he was able to touch him at all. as he kind of looks at his hand on some shit, right? As Bakugo kind of, holds his nose, as everybody kind of, gasps on some shit, they're like, oh my god, there's no way he just did that. As, he kind of hears a bunch of other people saying, nah, he's dead. I'm not putting money in for his funeral. Do I get his desk? Do I get to go into his locker? I want his backpack. Like, different shit like that. As, he kind of looks at Bakugo. As Bakugo kind of just says, you're fucking dead. And he kind of, comes in with a fucking, like, explosion on some shit. As that nigga, like, he doesn't know why, but, like, he reacts fast as fuck. Like, not on some Spider-Man shit, like, off instinct, but he was actually able to react to how fast this nigga was coming at him. As he grabs his arm and kind of, like, after that nigga went above his head with the explosions, he grabs his arm and then he slams him. Kind of like with a judo throw on some shit. As he puts his hand on top of his fucking, not hand, he puts his foot on top of his chest on some shit and kind of break bro's arm. As he kind of looks like shocked. He did not know like what the hell he was doing. Also along with that, he didn't know where all this fucking like sudden strength came from. But like all of a sudden on some shit, like he got a lot stronger. He thought on some shit all he was going to do was just, slam him against the ground and put his foot on top of him. He didn't actually mean to break Bakugo's arm. As, Bakugo's kind of, in pain on some shit on the ground. As when he does that on some shit, he kind of hears, hey, come here. As he looks over to the side and sees a bunch of teachers, and he kind of books it out of the fucking room. After he books it to the room out of the room on some shit, right? He ends up getting home on some shit because he ran out of school. Like this is like damn near end of day shit. So like it's like last period. I don't know if they do periods in like Japan, but I'm gonna guess that they're doing, period. So after he, the adrenaline basically wore off on some, I'm gonna say that before he got home, he went to the store and got himself like, what is it called? A bag of chips on some shit because he had like 15,000 yen inside of his pocket to spend. Or not 15,000. I'd say like 10,000 yen. But yeah, he kind of gets back to his house as he sits down on some shit as he's kind of just confused on what the fuck happened. And that's where I'm going to end this fucking what if for right now. If you enjoy, like and subscribe if you want to. I don't really care. Comment if you think that this was good. If you don't think that this was good, I mean, I guess you can say it, but I don't really see any point of you saying it. So, like, if you don't really have a reason, get out of here hating. You can critique me, but, like, I ain't gonna let people be in my comments insulting me and everything. So yeah, try not to die. Have a good day. Shit like that. And I'll see you guys all tomorrow.